Now, a particle is fired at speed u. It is fired at an angle alpha to the horizontal from a point on the horizontal plane. Show that the greatest height you'll reach is this formula here. Now, what did we discuss earlier? That if you're starting and ending at the same level of ground, what can we say about the flight? What's the word we used? It's symmetrical. So essentially the time taken to go to the top, so the time taken for this blue particle to reach the top is the same as the time taken for it to reach the bottom again. Are we cool with that? That's what you're starting and ending at the same height. Now, I'm just going to make up a random point. What does this point mean? 30, 50. What does that mean? 30 meters across, 50 meters in the air. Otherwise known as SX and SY. We're graphing your distance along the X and your distance along the Y at any point in time. You all cool with that? Now, we're using two formulas, okay? So we call this our four moves of doom, and every single time you just write all four of them down, and you write down all four, and you're hoping that you get a 10 marks usually for having these, maybe 2 marks. Now, we're going to start with phi equals u plus at, okay? Now, and what I'm going to do is, you know that it's fired off at an angle what? Angle alpha, yeah? And speed u. Angle alpha, speed u. Is that okay? Now, here's what you're going to do next. You're going to break that up into its components. The adjacent side, so this is alpha. The adjacent side is always cos. So it's u cos alpha. The opposite side is always sine, u sine alpha. Okay, we'll do a quick pause. The deal is, gravity doesn't affect u cos alpha. Why does gravity not affect u cos alpha? Yeah, it's horizontal. And gravity only affects which one? Yeah, it affects that. Okay? Now we're going to use the formula phi equals u plus at. And we're going to figure out what phi x is. Have we using phi plus u plus at? Now, what's phi x, guys? U cos alpha. Any acceleration? So it'll be plus 0t, won't it? Which is plus u cos alpha, yeah? So what about u sine alpha? U sine alpha minus gt. Because it's your speed take away gravity times time. You're getting slower because gravity is acting against you. Eventually, what happens when Vy turns negative? So Vy is positive, it's positive, it's positive, it's positive, it's positive. At the very top, it's 0. It's negative, it's negative, it's negative, it's negative, it's negative. Everybody got that? So that's what's happening. Now, what about Sx? We're now using ut plus a half at squared. So what's your speed? U cos alpha times it by t. So I call it ut cos alpha. Any acceleration? Because in the x direction, no acceleration required. Okay, next one. What about sy? What's its initial speed? In the y direction? U sine alpha, yeah, and then it's multiplied by the t. And as somebody rightly said, I'm going to call that ut sine alpha. Is that okay? What's it then? Minus a half gt squared. I'm going to keep in terms of g because if you look up, sometimes we use 4.9 because half of 9.8, which is gravity, is 4.9. But there's no need to do that here because you can see when I'm looking above, everything's in terms of g, so I'm not going to do that. All right? Now, I'm asked for the greatest height. And we know that the greatest height is this dotted red line here. What's the criteria for greatest height? Py equals 0, yes. Ut sine alpha and the angle. Alpha, it's like an A, Greek A. Sorry. You see a weird one called beta, which is B with a tail. So it's just like the Greek alphabet. They tend to break them out. ready? So I'm going to put phi y equals 0. And then I'm going to get gt equals u sine alpha. Does everybody understand where I got that from? Brought over the gt and put the two of them equal to each other. Okay? I'm going to divide the g underneath. Are we cool with that? Okay, so we're good so far. Now, here's what's going to happen next, okay? So it takes me u sine alpha over g to reach this top point here. Okay, so t equals u sine alpha over g. Now, I'm going to plug it into which equation? Sx or Sy? Why? What's the reason? It's in the y direction, the height is not the x direction. So we're going to do Sy equals, now I'm going to put u sine alpha back together again. See them just clumping them together. Then I'm going to put the t underneath, t beside it. Is it better the second time around? Probably sticks a bit better. Square t, what happens when I square t? Yeah, but just like what happens if I literally square it right now? Multiply u by itself. Multiply sine by itself. There you go. U squared sine squared alpha. Don't square the angle, just square the function. Okay, and on the bottom, g squared. You guys are familiar with that type of writing already, are you? With the square in the weird position. So you're familiar that sine alpha squared is the same thing as sine squared alpha. Okay, so we're good with that. All right. Now, okay, guys, what we doing next then? Multiply this in, and what do we get? U squared sine squared alpha all over g. This g cancels with 1 on the bottom, and what we're going to get is minus u squared sine squared alpha all over, anybody? 2g. Now, you probably see me do this on the video a lot. Slot a 2 here, slot a 2 there. And now they have a common denominator. Take one of the top, take away the tops from each other, and what you get? Yeah, 2 of them take away one of them is just one of them, isn't it? If you don't understand what I'm saying, that's one of them. 2, take away one of them. And then we're going to be a bit lazy here. I'm just going to do this. There's your answer. Oh, good. And that is what we were asked to prove, wasn't it? Okay. I will pause there. Any questions? Conduct a dimensional analysis of the formula to establish that it represents a distance. All right. So we all know Sy represents a distance, don't we? Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna grab Sy here. I can rub actually I won't rub my 4 equations out. That'd be detrimental. So it's u squared. What was it? U squared sine squared alpha all over. What was it? 2g. Okay. Now the deal is that sine squared is just a number. 2 is just a number. So they don't count in the dimensional analysis. Okay? The only 2 that count are v squared and g. Now, what's the units of v? Meters per. Could be written as ms minus 1. Square both sides, what happens? Square m and squared square s minus 1. S minus 2. Who's confused by that? It's okay if you are. You would have done indices on chapter 12.5 or 12.6. You done chapter 12 yet? In maths? Have you done logs? Yeah. Well, then you did indices, all right? Okay. Now, I'll show you a rule for this, all right? So, imagine 3x to be cubed, yeah? The 3 works on the 3 and the x. So it's technically 3 cubed x cubed, which is 27x cubed. So I'm doing the same thing here. the square is working on both of them. So when I square both sides, the square is working on the n and it's working on the s minus 1. And that's what I'm getting, s minus 2. Y'all on board with that? Okay. So I have m squared s minus 2. Anybody know the gravity is an acceleration? Does anybody know the units for acceleration? Meters per second squared ms minus 2. And what you see cancels. And m squared divided by m. There you go. Sy is measured in meters. Done. Formula works. Cool. Okay. Now, if u is 70 and the greatest height is 125, find the value of alpha. No hassle. Okay, so what did I say earlier? Greatest height is u squared sine squared alpha all over 2g. Okay, so replace h with 125. Replace g with 9.8. 2 times 9.8. Yeah, happy enough with that. And u squared is 70 squared, yeah? So AD. Okay, here's what I want you to do for me. I want you to get that 125. I want you to multiply it by 19.6 because the 19.6 is going to go up to it. The 70 squared is going to go below it. And then just tell me what you get for that. 19.6 went up to the 125. Yeah. 2,450? Oh, no. So, what do you get when you divide by the 70 squared? A half. All right, that's a bit nicer, right? Now, square root the other side. Square root of half. Now, the anyway guess sine alpha is 1 over root 2. Yeah? Now, what I want to do is sine inverse that. I think you get 45 degrees. Cool. Okay. Show that in this case the range is 500 meters. The range. Okay. Let's go and figure out what the range is. You ready? Range formula. Now, let's go back here. Do you remember what we said earlier, that the time to get to the greatest height was was it u sine alpha over g? Everybody remember that? To get to the greatest, to get to the range, what can I do with that answer? Double it. Why am I allowed to double it? Symmetrical, isn't it? And this is known as your top, time of flight. Now, insert your TOF, your time of flight, into SX, and what do we get? U cos alpha times 2u sine alpha all over g. And you'll get 2u squared sine alpha cos alpha all over g. Okay. What we learned recently, that the angle is 45. The u value is 70. So I think we have everything we require here, don't we? 2 times 70 squared sine 45 cos 45 all over 9.8. You should be able to give me a range 500. And that was a proof question, wasn't it?